Charlize, how many times have you seen this movie? A lot?
I greased it up for you.
There she is. Have you seen the movie several times at this point?
It just destroys me, this movie. Such a pussy.
So what I want to ask Jason, while Charlize recovers herself, is how brave is this woman? I mean, she goes all the way, and you expect her to, don't you?
Diablo writes these scripts, and these are first drafts. Her writing style, she sits down and she just writes it. There's no index cards, there's no treatment. That's a first draft, and it happens in about 6 or 7 weeks. It's irritating. And they're strong, complicated, flawed main character, prod an actor in that direction and give them the confidence to do so. And instead, we're on this journey together, holding hands, jumping over the cliff, and pushing each other to be as real and as honest as possible. And, I remember on Young Adult, something really important happened for me. I think for the first 3 movies that I directed, all I thought about was just trying to get to the finish line. And Young Adult was the first time that I actually was on set and stopping myself to enjoy just being there. And I remember just sitting there and watching Charlize in real time and thinking, what a privilege that I'm getting to watch this right now for the first time. One day, many people are going to see this, but right now it's just me watching her. And it has been the great honor to work with her these
You're
2
welcome.
times. And it's the last sincere thing I'll say tonight.
Jason is so correct when he says that the script that Diablo usually gives us is just mind-blowing. And I will say for myself, in a way, it's so powerful that it feels wrong. And for me on Young Adult, it was such a slap in the face that for a second I was like, oh. And I remember having a conversation with Jason on the phone. And I said, look, I have to be really honest with you. This feels like it walks a very thin line where it can fall either way, like into terribleness or like amazingness. And Jason and I had like a 3-hour conversation about it. And I realized that when Diablo writes, it's almost like purging. She just writes from this very real place and she purges. And it's scary to read that because it's so incredibly raw and real that it's not what you used to. Yeah, and a lot of it is not pretty. Mm-hmm. And so it's scary to read. And the process that I have with Jason was, from the first time that we worked together, was one where I felt that he would hear me. And whenever we came across, look, her writing is so strong, but on Young Adult, there were some things that were written so well that I couldn't pull it off. And I could look at Jason and say, look, I can't do this. It's so good, actually, that I can't do this. And Jason would find a way for me to work into her words, into her writing in a way where it benefited what she initially set out to do and what I can deliver. And he's our middleman. He's the guy that finds what my strength is, what her strength is, and like meets us in the middle. And so on this one, we didn't have that so much because I think she wrote from a place. I mean, look, she has such an incredible wit. And sometimes you feel, for me as an actor, I'm like, okay, I'm like fighting this war between like this like tragedy and then this funny line and like, what do I do with that? And he's like, that's exactly it, just do that. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just do that. And somehow the 3 of us just work really well together. Like what she delivers is a punch in the face for me. And then Jason kind of like figures out a way for me to understand that better. And it just works. It just works.
Talk about the weight.
Oh, Jason, talk about the weight. Jason, talk about the weight.
put on 30 pounds during this movie. But it felt like the right thing to do.
I had just finished Atomic Blonde and I was in the best shape of my life. I couldn't wait to rock a bikini that summer. I was like, ugh, I'm gonna kill it this summer. And Jason calls and he's like, I got a project and it's a mom who's giving birth on page 10 to her third child. And I was like, fuck you. I went from like the best shape of my life to 50 pounds heavier in 3 months.
So you didn't use prosthetics?
We didn't.
The pregnancy part you did.
We did my boobs. Yeah, no, I mean, I had like close to 3 months and I gained as much as I possibly could. And before, Jason hadn't seen me while I was gaining it, other than some pics from In-N-Out that I sent you.
You'd send me like cheeseburger photos and milkshake photos. And then I took one of them and I put J'adore on it.
And so when I showed up in Canada, before I showed up, I said, listen, if you're not happy with the amount of weight I gained, because I was very adamant that I didn't want to do prosthetics. It wasn't like anything other than, we worked at a budget. I knew where our money had to go. And I also wanted to feel something that this character felt. I wanted to feel like I was in her body. And I said, look, and if it's not enough for you, if you want to add more, we can do it. And I remember us doing the first screen test, and Jason and Eric Steelberger, DP, they would stand in front of the camera, and they both would be like, so is that the padding, or is that you? And I was like, it's me, assholes. It's me.
And then it just became a thing on set, I would say.
All the time.
I think the prosthetic is off or something.
I was like, that's my stomach, bitch! Yeah, I gained close to 50 pounds, and like, it was the rug that was just swept under my feet. And the good news was that I knew Jason and he knew me and he saw it all happening with me and he just knew how to utilize it. But I don't think I was a lot of fun on this movie.
At night in a home, particularly if a filmmaker doesn't ever shoot on sound stages. I always shoot on real location, so it meant we had to tent the house to make it look, a real house to make it look like night. And we would only get 3 hours with each baby. But we had to shoot with the babies. We tried shooting with like dolls, which is weird because they show up in a box and you like uncrate. But something changes when there's a difference between an actor holding a doll, even if it's in a wrap and you really can't see, you just see the shape. Once a real baby comes to set, it changes the cast, it changes the crew, everyone gets quiet. And the scene just changes. So we really started to carve the schedule around how do we make movies with these.
Dynamic on this set must have been also, I mean, just for you as a filmmaker, how far do you want to go?
Thriller. So it's not like The Usual Suspects where you are keyed in, looking for things, looking for the clues, and trying to piece together a puzzle. And so with this movie and with this script, for a good hour, you're in the car and you know what movie you're watching. Like, all right, I'm good, get it. She's gonna come to her life, she's gonna change. I understand. And then things start to change and you start to lose yourself and you don't know what movie you're in anymore for a little bit. And so I guess the real fear for me as a filmmaker was, I'm gonna push the audience out of the car for a moment and hope that I can get them back in at the end when they realize, oh, this is what I've been watching. I thought I was watching a movie about motherhood, and what I'm watching is about a movie about the moment you have to say goodbye to your younger self.
Interesting, because Jason and I have really kind of opened up this conversation throughout talking about this movie, about how it's somewhat of a continuation of Young Adult. And it plays on the same themes. For those of you who haven't seen Young Adult, you should go see it tonight. But it's the idea of having to, Young Adult is about a girl. Okay.
You know.
He's amazing.
Sorry, I heard editing room and I got excited about in introducing Stefan.
No, but it was a challenge to make this work, and not piss off the audience.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, frankly, it started at the beginning. I think there was a way that we kind of modeled the film so that if you watched it twice, everything made sense. So if a scene began with Charlize with a certain body language sitting at the table, by the end of the scene, Mackenzie would be in the exact same body language at the end of it. They're seen, or if, they're both walking up the stairs, they start as two people and they visually become one person. All these kind of markers throughout that kind of went through every department, even, wardrobe. Mackenzie's wardrobe was modeled off of all the things that you would have watched as a kid. So the first time we didn't meet Tully, and then on this one, fan of that song Blue, and she wrote that in, and then we found new stuff like that cover of the James Bond song that was an exciting time. But yeah, really quickly, there's two people in the audience tonight who really mean a lot to me, and we're here at the San Francisco Film Festival, and I found myself as a filmmaker at film festivals. I was the son of a famous director, and when you're the son of a famous director, everyone presumes you're just going to be a talentless, spoiled brat who will never do anything with their life. Yeah, and an asshole at that. And there's two people who were here at San Francisco Film Festival. They ran the Aspen Film Festival for a while, and they were two of the first people to ever acknowledge me as a filmmaker and program my short films. And they happen to be here tonight.
Oh my God!
They touched so many They have touched so many filmmakers so early on, and I am one of them, and I'm very grateful. Thank you very much.
For giving us your time and your talent and all that you've done. And Jason, thank you.
Thank you.
As well.